True Horror Vault, Mega True Horror Special THV. Dear listeners, welcome all of you to another special episode of True Horror Vault. Today's episode is a bit different, because today we won't be listening to just one or two, but many terrifying true incidents which have been sent to us by expatriate Bengali listeners living in various cities across America. Every incident comes with a claim by a real person, a real time, a real place, and experiences, the explanations for which they still haven't found to this day. We are neither proving the truth of any incident, nor are we denying it. We are simply presenting those experiences sent by our listeners, which have changed their lives forever. So, if it is late at night right now, if you are alone, or if you are listening with headphones in your ears, then don't turn off the light. Rather, turn it up a bit, because tonight might not remain like the nights before. Incident 1. The blood-stained hand of the abandoned petrol pump. Location: New Orleans, America. Sender: anonymous. I was new to my job in New Orleans back then. It would often get quite late returning from the office. That day too, the clock read almost 2:30 a.m. Leaving the city lights far behind, I was returning home along a deserted highway. The road ahead was getting covered in dense fog. It was so thick that even the headlight beams could not reach very far. Right then, on the right side of the road, an old petrol pump from many years ago caught my eye. A broken signboard, a rusted fuel dispenser, a tiny office room standing in the dark. Looking at the place, it felt like no one had come here for at least 10 to 15 years. The car's fuel was also very low. I thought I'd stop for a bit and check Google Maps to make sure if there was another station ahead. I stopped the car. I sat there with the engine turned off. There was such a silence all around, as if there was no one else in the world except me. Suddenly, thud, something fell on top of the car roof. I startled. I looked outside. There was no one. Thinking it might just be a dry branch, I looked back at my phone. Right then, thud, thud. This time the sound came from right across the windshield. I slowly raised my head. There was nothing. Only fog. I convinced myself maybe it was raining, but the very next moment, my chest froze. On the inside of the windshield, a handprint was appearing. Slowly, as if someone, in an invisible state, was pressing their hand from inside the glass. The fingers became distinct, one by one. Then the whole palm. But the most terrifying part was, the handprint was soaked in blood. I was certain I was alone in the car. Then how did this handprint come from the inside? In panic, I wanted to open the door and I was pulling the handle. It wasn't opening. Right then, another handprint on the glass. Then another one. 1, 2, 3. It felt like multiple people were trying to break out from the inside. Suddenly, looking in the rearview mirror, I saw, as if a dark silhouette was sitting in the back seat for a few seconds. As soon as I turned around to look, there was no one. Looking back at the front, all the handprints vanished in an instant. The door opened too. I didn't stay there for even another second. I started the car and drove straight out. The next day at the office, as soon as I related the incident, a colleague informed me that a robbery had taken place at that petrol pump many years ago. That day, several employees were trapped inside and murdered. It is rumored among people, if anyone stops there late at night, someone still tries to come out from inside the glass. RJ, dear listeners, a deserted PE, and a blood-stained handprint appearing from the inside. If it were you, would you ever stop your car in an unfamiliar place in the middle of the night again? Let's move on to our second incident.
Incident 2. The one calling my name. From atop the tree. Location: Savannah, America. Sender: anonymous. I used to work at a restaurant in Savannah. That day, it was 1 a.m. by the time my shift ended. To get back home, I took the road by the edge of the forest as a shortcut. On one side of the road were huge oak trees. On the other side was darkness. Street lights were also very few. As I was walking, suddenly I heard someone was calling my nickname very softly. "Hey." I stopped. I looked around. There was no one. I started walking again, After going a little further, that call again. This time even clearer. Exactly that nickname from my childhood, the name by which no one calls me anymore. My body went cold. I thought maybe some friend was playing a prank. I said, "Who is it?" There was no answer. Suddenly, the sound of leaves rustling above. I raised my head and looked up, and instantly my knees shook. On top of a thick branch, a human body was standing, but it had no head. The neck area was empty. Something like black smoke was coming out from there. I froze. Right then, the headless body raised its hand and gestured for me to come. Once, twice. Then it began to climb down the tree branch with abnormal speed. Not like a human, like a spider. I started to run. I didn't have the courage to look back, but I could clearly hear something behind me was leaping from tree to tree and repeatedly calling out that same nickname as if it wanted to stop me. As soon as I saw lights at the end of the road, I ran with all my might into the midst of people. Looking back, I saw that headless body standing at the edge of the forest. A moment later, it vanished into the darkness. To this day, I no longer use that road, because I know the one who was calling my name knew me, but I never knew it. There's a saying in many cultures: if someone calls your name from an unfamiliar place late at night, never respond immediately. Why? Perhaps the birth of that belief lies in the answer to this incident. Now, let's go to our third and final incident of this episode.
Incident 3. The girl in the white dress. Location: Salem, America. Sender: anonymous. I had gone to the city of Salem for office work. I was returning to the hotel after 12 a.m. The road was almost deserted. Turning a corner, I saw a girl dressed in white standing by the roadside. Her head was lowered, a small bag in one hand, hitchhiking with the other hand. I stopped the car. As soon as I rolled down the window, she said in a very calm voice, "Could you please drop me a little further ahead?" There was such exhaustion in her voice that the thought of doubting her didn't even cross my mind. She got into the back seat. I started driving again. No words for a few minutes. A strange silence. Suddenly, it felt like it had become very cold inside the car. The AC was off, yet fog was coming out with every breath. I looked in the rearview mirror. First, her hair was visible, then the face, and then my entire body went numb. On her face, there were no eyes. There was no nose. There were no lips. The whole face was just white, smooth, blank. Terrified, I didn't stop even though I felt like hitting the brakes. It felt like if I stopped the car, something would happen. Shaking, I looked in the mirror again. This time she slowly raised her head. Even though she had no eyes, still I clearly felt she was looking right at me. Right then, a powerful cold wind suddenly blew inside the car, despite all the windows being closed. I had closed my eyes for a single second. Opening them and looking in the mirror again, the back seat was empty. I hadn't heard any sound of the car door opening either. The car was still running at about 80 kilometers per hour. I stopped the car by the roadside and searched the entire vehicle. There was no one. Only lying on the back seat was an old, dust-laden handkerchief. Touching it felt as cold as ice. I didn't touch it again. The next day, as soon as I told the incident to a hotel employee, he sighed and said, "Many years ago, a young woman dressed in white died in an accident at that road intersection. Many drivers claim she asks for a lift at midnight, but no one has been able to drop her at her final destination. Since that day, no matter how late the night gets, I no longer give a lift to anyone standing on an empty road. Dear listeners, the first episode of Booth.com Mega True Horror Special ends right here. But believe me, the most terrifying incidents are still left. In the next episode, we will hear 3 more true incidents. An old bridge, burning eyes rising from a black river, the head of an old woman turned 360 degrees, and a scream that belongs neither to an animal nor to a human.